Yo, what's up, guys? Teacher Paul here, and today we are reacting to a John Farnham interview on Midday with Ray Martin, 1987. If you want to request a video, click over here or go over to Buy Me Coffee. The link is in the description, and thank you for your support. Oh, I'm so sorry, Deb. This is for you. Let's see.
Things about doing this.
I hope you can. I hope you can watch this one.
Things about doing this program is when you have guests like my next guest. It's taken 20 years for John Farnham to shake the tag of the boy who sang about a cleaning lady. Well, last night in Sydney, as we mentioned at the Countdown Music Awards,
Sadie.
John Farnham hammered the final nail into the coffin of Sadie, if it needed a nail, by picking up 4 awards, including the best single, the best album, the best performance in rock video, and naturally enough, the most outstanding achievement in rock music. His success is not limited to Australia, of course. John is getting bigger and bigger and bigger in Europe, in Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Holland, you name it. Would you please welcome the voice, John Farnham.
What about Norway? Was he big in Norway? Oh, I forgot to read out the coffee request. Deb says, "Hi, Paul. This is a new one for you. You might want to send it to... Okay. I thought I'd send you this great interview in 1987 after John had been to Germany. Shout out to Nicole. This just shows you how humble John is and how easy he is to talk to. Enjoy this new Farnsey fans, and I'll send more interviews from time to time. He has some very funny ones. He loves his band. He calls them his friends. He had a great relationship with his mother-in-law, and she thought his jokes were great." Yeah, he always jokes about his mother-in-law. The interview, Ray Martin, always, the interviewer, I think, Ray Martin, always drew him in to the mother-in-law jokes. He's hilarious. He is just your ordinary Joe Blow with an extraordinary multiple talent. Love this wonderful man, just like so many fans. Listen to the price of the tickets, $23 to $30 per ticket. He used to let his kids in for free. Sorry, not his kids. He used to let the kids in for free, so we could take our whole families. Wow. How much is the tickets now?
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Ray.
Long overdue.
Well, I don't know about that, but I thank you for that. It's been a hell of a year for me. It's been just great.
You said last night, the best year of your life.
Yep, absolutely. In all sorts of ways. I mean, you know, the best thing, of course, that's happened this year is my wife is pregnant again. And
when is she due, John?
She's due in January.
And the little boy is now...
Robbie's 5.5.
Right.
And the devil incarnate. He's great.
I just reminded John, in fact, of the some years back when I was in
He's
60
always
Minutes,
joking.
we crossed paths in Los Angeles catching a plane home. And Robbie then was, I guess, only about 2.5 and running around the airport in Los Angeles. And he was running from mum to dad, back to mum. And John just stood there and looked at him and said, "He's so beautiful, I could eat him. He's so..." Is he still that beautiful?
Yeah, I could suck the meat off his bones. I love him. He's great. He really is. He's a great kid. He comes out with some... all kids do, but I guess I'm a proud dad. But no, he's a great kid.
Well, tell us the story. Come on, the one you told me about. It's a lovely story.
He's got this thing about his clothes. He will not wear baggy jeans. You know, you want to put the kids in hip clothes and things. And he said, "Oh, no, Dad, I don't want to wear those. They're baggy. I want to wear me scummy jeans." I think he got that off me. And I said, "Look, you can't..." We were having a fight the other day, just playing, and his button popped off his shirt. And he said, "Oh, Dad, I'm going to have to go and change my shirt. The button's come off." And I got annoyed with him. I said, "Look, you cannot keep changing. You can't change 3 and 4 times a day. Your mum's got to pick up all these clothes. She's got to wash them and everything." And he just looked at me and said, "Dad, that's the person I am."
Wow.
And I said, "No, you're quite right. You go and change. That's fine with me." How do you argue? How do you argue with that? It's great. He's 55 years old. It's frightening.
He's 55.
He's got me sussed. He can wrap me around his little finger.
Well, the thing that gets me is that when the little hand comes around the head and Jenna says...
He's the same one who didn't want to wear the mullet, right? Or what was it he was making fun of? Something. He's the one with the dreadlocks also, right?
I love you, Dad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Such a smart kid.
You know, he's going to be a great actor when he grows up. When we left to come up here for the awards show, we left him with my folks. And at the front door he said, "Don't go! Don't go! Don't leave me!" And because I was a bit concerned, naturally, and I rang from the airport, and apparently 30 seconds after we got into the taxi to go to the airport, he said, "Where's Granddad?" You know, it's unbelievable.
I mentioned Sadie there, John. I guess last night and this year, as you can now put Sadie in perspective.
He gets it from his dad.
She was important, she was fabulous, but she's in perspective now.
Yeah, I mean, that was 20 years ago. Sometimes it feels like 27 years ago. And I'm not embarrassed about Sadie the cleaning lady at all, and I don't apologise.
What about these photos? Are you embarrassed?
No, I'm embarrassed about these photographs, yeah. Yes, oh yes, that's a beaut.
No, you're really embarrassed.
Oh, I've still got that suit. My son wears it and it's got no buttons on it.
How old? Well, you would have been 17 then?
No, actually, I was probably in my 20s there. Seriously. And I saw a friend at the airport yesterday. He said, "You look awful." I said, "It's great to see you again." And he said, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 38."
humor.
He said, "You look older." So I snotted him.
He's no longer a friend, eh?
Yeah, right.
What happened? I mean, if you look back between The King
It's
of
a
Pop
frenemy.
and Whispering Jack, the successor album, what happened there?
Well, I'd done all sorts of different things. I mean, I got to the stage just before I joined the Wheatley organisation about 8 years ago, where I wasn't being stimulated by what I was doing. I was sort of still singing Sadie and Raindrops that I'd done 10 years before, and still trading on those things and not moving forward in any way, and I wasn't being stimulated. I don't think it was particularly stimulating to the audience that I had, even though there was only 9 of them at the time. Seriously. So I decided that I'd pull my socks up, as it were, and stick my neck out.
Were you
Yeah,
doing,
you
were you
need
actually
new
doing clubs
stuff.
or doing pubs where there was only...
I mean, I understand that people might always watch because of one thing, right? Like, if he kept singing Sadie all the time, people would still watch. But you gotta expand, right? He's right about that.
A handful of people?
Oh, yeah.
Hard to believe.
Yeah. In fact, there were less than a handful of people at a couple of the places. I remember going back to do a show in Dandenong, which was the place where I lived when I was a kid. And, you know, all my family came along, and that was it. None of my schoolmates came around. I was mortified. But I still enjoyed myself. I mean, I sort of still got paid for singing. Not very much, but I was singing. So
But did you feel, I mean, what about the frustration? I mentioned a week before last, when we had Kerry Bedell on, and I was saying to certainly the band and Jeff and the musicians, I've always said, in my experience, they've always said when they talked about great Australian voices, they would say Kerry Bedell is the musician's lady singer.
Absolutely.
And you were the muso's male singer. So, I mean, did you find yourself frustrated saying, look, I know I've got the voice, I know I can do it, why can't I crack it?
No,
You should have.
Well, this is not to make light of what's happened for me in the rest of the world over the last 12 months, but it really hasn't been the most important thing in my life.
Well, the success, you mean? This
What's happened here, the fact that I've been able to work here and do what I've done here in the years, all the different things, has been absolutely fantastic for me. People have been saying to me, and Ian Meldrum is one of the main people. He used to give me hell. And say, you know, you've got to go, you've got to crack overseas, you must do this, why haven't you done it? And I got a lot of pressure because of that from all sorts of areas, and it seemed more important to other people than it was to me. I'm very happy with what happened here. The rest of the success has been absolutely fantastic, and I've loved every minute of it, but it really hasn't been the most important thing in my life.
Well, it's probably
I live here.
What's kept you sane, huh?
Yeah, I think so, probably.
Because certainly you'd appear in a Royal Command performance at the opening Opera House or things like that, and just do a knockout performance, and then suddenly you'd be back doing the clubs again after that.
Yeah.
Instead of somewhere, we'd see others unnamed people go overseas.
Yeah, but that's the nature of the business. That's the nature of the business. When you say that,
And he's very humble, so he doesn't mind.
you know,
right?
I am a singer. I mean, I'm not in the industry to impress other singers or to do any of that. I just want to make music that's accessible to people. I enjoy to sing. And I'll have a go at anything, you know.
Yeah. Was there? Did anyone ever say to you, Molly as well, ever say, look, you're simply too nice for this business? You
I get that a lot.
Do you?
But that's okay. I don't really care about that.
Oh.
I am fairly easy to get along with. I don't see any reason stamp my feet on the ground and jump up and down like a rat bag. That doesn't really... I think
And
it's childish.
he's the proof that you
So
can
I
be
don't
nice and
really
successful.
see the need for any of that. I get mollies occasionally, you know. I can throw my dummy in the dirt, but it's pretty rare.
Yes. Let's talk about Europe. We've heard a fair bit about that. Again, we would think that given your success here with the album, that you just walked into Europe and they welcome you with open arms. Wasn't the case.
Well, it felt like that. It really did, because the record was released here and started to do all that work, and then...
This was a Munich concert, by the way,
right.
from the Willesee program.
So wait, who was on that show? Tina Turner, Eurythmics, Joe Cocker, John Farnham, Robert Cray.
And started to do all that work, and then...
This was a Munich concert, by the way, from the Willesee program.
What a day that was.
110,000 people.
Did he perform with Tina Turner?
$1 a head.
That would have been crazy because they're both energetic on stage.
Chris de Berg and Joe Cocker and Robert Cray, who's coming out here shortly. It's a great band if anyone's watching. Wants to go see Robert Cray, it's great. And it was the first time I performed on the German stage live. And there was 110,000 people out there, and I think 99% of them knew the words to the song.
Really?
It was just fantastic.
But you had done, in fact, the reason I said it wasn't easy was that was your 4th or 5th trip to Europe.
Oh, yeah, we'd been backwards and forwards a great deal.
So you'd been actually doing the talk shows, doing the radio.
Tours, yeah, all that sort of thing. I think the most horrendous trip we had, I got back, I went for a holiday, for a 2-week holiday, and I got back, and Glenn Wheatley, my manager, rang me and said, look, leave some clothes in your suitcase.
R.I.P.
There's a good chance at 6 o'clock tonight I'll get a call from London telling us that we have to leave on a midnight flight. So I was there shaking sand out of my jeans, you know, so, oh no, I've got to go. And we got a call, and we left at midnight that night, and we were there for 2 days, or 30 hours or something.
It's always a rush, isn't it?
Well, in the air longer than when we were on the ground. I went over to do Top of the Pops, which is a television show.
Britain, right.
Yeah, in London.
Top of the Pops.
And
I remember Top of the Pops.
It was election day, the day of the program.
Yo, I remember Top of the Pops. I used to watch that when I was like a little kid. I used to watch that. I used to like that show. Who knows? Maybe I saw John Farnham there. Who knows?
Apparently, they normally take the program the day before and put it out the next day, and the whole affair. But because of the election, they didn't do that. The show went out live to 90 million people.
Oh, wow.
And they told me about that, and I went blind. It's unbelievable. I instantly forgot all the words to the song, Jeff, and I didn't know where I was, you know. But it was an enormous experience for me.
Was it strange, in the first of the 4 or 5 tours, was it strange to actually be interviewed by someone who didn't really know who you were, who obviously had the album but had no idea who John Farnham was?
Yeah, I think, well, they have some kind of an idea because the German music press, the Germans are very into their music. And they research a lot, so they knew about Sadie the Cleaning Lady. A couple of them had that compilation album that I'm trying to wish away in their hands. A lot of them knew about LRB and that whole thing.
Nice.
But the hardest
they knew
thing
everything.
is to do interviews
Shout out to Germany.
on television and on radio, particularly on television, where you're asked a question in English, then they repeat the question in the language that, or the country that you're in, and then you answer, and then they translate the answer, and you never know what they're going to say. I picked up a piece, somebody came to me and said, is it true that, you know, you never spend time with your band because they're there to work and, you know, they're just the workers? And I said, no, of course not. And apparently I was quoted in one of the papers saying, I never spend time with my band, they're here to work, and that's what they do.
That was the interpreter.
You know, yeah. And that's very hard,
Wow.
so I have to be careful. I try to make my answers as short as possible. And on the Willesee thing, I made a crack about my mother-in-law, who's a wonderful human being.
Here's your big chance to strike.
Mother-in-law jokes.
No, see, people get offended by that sometimes, and they shouldn't. She is a dog, but she's all right.
Come
She's
on.
all right. And I would never get away with that stuff if she thought I meant it.
See, he just said that, you know, translation could be hard and misinterpretation, and then he just jumps into a joke which is sarcastic. If he tells this type of joke in, like, let's say if he was in Germany talking about his mother-in-law that way, she's a dog, you know, that would be on the front page. John Farnham thinks his mother-in-law is a dog. They wouldn't take it like a joke. Don't think they would understand it.
There you go, John. Talk your way out of that.
Giving me some more rope, eh? Right. No, actually, I heard a lovely gag while I was away about this guy whose mother-in-law had started talking through her nose because she wore her mouth out, which I'm going to use. I'm going to use.
Any more time you'd like, John?
No, thanks, mate. I'm set now. I'm a dead man.
What about America? Have you tried America?
Yes, the record was released in America, and the only way I can explain the situation is, like, America has 270 million people. The European continent has about 290 million people.
Wow.
But it's very segmented. And the way the record started in Europe was it went up the charts in Holland, then went into Sweden, then went into Germany, and from Germany found out across the rest of the continent. America doesn't really have those lines, and it's a world within itself. It really is. And they just couldn't pigeonhole the song. They didn't know whether it was AOR or CHR or RRRR, or they just couldn't put it in a pigeonhole. So we've pulled You're the Voice, and we're putting Pressure Down out as the next single. And they think that, or the record companies seem to think that can work, and we'll possibly release You're the Voice.
Wow, You're the Voice didn't do well?
Unless the record's out and on top of the pops, any chance of doing the Johnny Carson or the talk shows? You've got to wait for those to happen.
I don't know. I guess I'll have to wait.
I was thinking that's the way that Paul Hogan went, except for those to flog the movie.
Hogan's so big over there, it's unbelievable. I got to Sweden, this killed me. I got to Sweden and...
They should have tried
I sat
movies.
down with this woman called Stina, who's quite a heavy interviewer. I mean, she, the week before, had done an interview with Princess Caroline, and the first question was, do you still feel guilty about your mother's death? I mean, it's, oh... And they told me I was being interviewed by this woman. So I went in and she jumped all over me. You male chauvinist pigs over there in Australia and this, that and the other. And I went, why? And apparently they'd misinterpreted Hogan's sense of humour, which is not easy to do. And he had said, or what they thought he said was, you know, if an Australian man had been asked by his woman to do the washing up or a bit of ironing, we'd slap him down.
And then he left
Maybe
town.
she was right.
He left town and you came in.
He left town and I came in and got snotted all over. I mean, they were jumping all over me. So I said, look, I want to see this tape. Get me a copy of the tape, and if that's the case, then I'll disagree with Paul and maybe we'll have an argument about it. Anyway, they sent me the tape and the man was being funny. But I said, no, Paul Hogan is a comedian, you know. Was he in his hoax? Did he have his shorts on? And they said, no, he had a suit on and he was serious.
He had a suit on.
But he was kidding. Must have been kidding.
Next time you see Hoax,
right.
you owe him one.
I do.
Congratulations again on last.
Yeah, so whenever you have a suit on, you are automatically serious. You can't make jokes. You can't be funny. And, you know, Aussie humor is so misunderstood, I think. You know, you guys are very sarcastic. You guys are, you know, yeah, it's hard to, it's hard not to get misconstrued.
Last night, mate.
Shout out to Paul Hogan, by the way.
We look forward
I mean, the fans of Paul Hogan.
to the... what's next? I mean, are you simply just going to take a rest?
Yes, I'm going to take a rest. I'm doing another television show next week.
Don't mention that.
No way.
No.
And then I'm going to have a couple of weeks off, and then I'll probably go into rehearsals. We're doing another Australian concert tour,
Fabulous.
which I'm really looking forward to. We're going to go all out in this one. And then...
You mean you didn't on the other one?
well, yeah, we did, but we have to do it better this time. And I'll have
do
to
you
learn
feel
some
that
new
pressure?
songs. I think so. Oh, yeah.
That you've got to somehow beat the voice?
You're asking for a lot of money. I mean, because those places are so expensive to run, the expenses are very high. So, you know, you're asking for $23 to $25 to sometimes $30 a ticket. And so, you know, you have to give them something back.
It's what people pay for the best overseas, and you're certainly the best here.
Yeah, but, well, we'll be a bit cheaper than that.
John, congratulations. Let's go to a break with You're the Voice. John Farnham, please. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much, Aussie Deb, for this request. Guys, speaking of Paul Hogan and requests, here's a wish list that I have, and it's a crowdfund, okay? You can request videos like Aussie Deb did, or you can go over to the wish list. And, you know, here we have a lot of things from Australia. We have a man from, man from Snowy River. We have the main event over here, which is a 3-hour concert. We have the fan art of John Farnham and Olivia Newton-John. We also have Crocodile Dundee over here. So, you know, and we have The Greatest Showman with, well, I know it's not an Australian movie, but it's with Hugh Jackman. But we do have Australia here as well, the movie. Australia, the movie. So all of these are part of the wish list. If you guys want to go check out the wish list and see if there's anything you want to support and, you know, get a reaction to, then you can do that. But thank you so much. This interview was so cool. John Farnham is always very, humble, happy, well-spoken. He's serious when he needs to be serious. He's joking when he needs to be joking. It's very, he's very centered, very down to earth. So thank you so much, Aussie Deb, for this. Don't forget to like, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Request a video like Aussie Deb did. Go over here, or go over here for my John Farnham playlist. I'll see you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.